Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Neal Howard. Thank you for joining us here on Health Professional Radio. Our guest today is Dr. Jonathan Simons, President and CEO of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, and he's with us today to discuss prostate cancer prevalence, some of the risk factors involved, and some of the latest scientific advancements in treatments and cures for those who live with prostate cancer. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Simons.
Thank you very much.
Glad that you could join us. Now, prostate cancer, it's very high up there on the list of cancers in men. What is the prevalence of this cancer?
1 man in 8 in the U.S. will get prostate cancer in their lifetime. It's the second most common cancer in men after skin cancer.
Wow.
And it's the third, unfortunately, still the third most common cause of death now in American men from cancer. And in the last 20 years, we've been able to reduce the death rate in the U.S. by 52%, according to the American Cancer Society. So the Prostate Cancer Foundation has led the research that's really reduced death from prostate cancer by the largest amount of any of the top 10 cancers.
Wow. There's
still a 48% of men that we want to defeat the disease in. In raising over $700 million in funding research for new medicines, the last 6 FDA-approved medicines for advanced prostate cancer were all discovered and driven by the foundation, and also by creating partnerships to increase awareness for patients in terms of PSA screening, partnerships with the government to increase government research for prostate cancer, and actually encourage biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies to get engaged in R&D itself in bringing forward better drugs and diagnostics and actually new scans for prostate cancer. So fundamentally by leadership and partnership.
What do you think the reason is that there is this, and it's not a slow process. I mean, the process is what it is. I mean, we're talking about a huge undertaking as far as curing prostate cancer. What do you think is the main factor that is impeding other than funding?
Well, part of it is patient knowledge. That's what we're about to address through Many versus Cancer. And then part of it is actually taking all of what we've learned about prostate cancer research in the last 20 years and really making the new kinds of medicines, genetic medicines or precision medicines to defeat the disease. That's why we're launching Many versus Cancer as the first global fundraising initiative to really push us all the way with research and development to the finish line for defeating prostate cancer. So there's still money is research, and research now is the future of defeating the disease completely.
You mentioned genetic medicines. Are we talking about combating this on a genetic level in addition to other fronts? Is this something that we can pick up genetically?
Yes. Understanding the genes that cause and drive prostate cancers to kill has turned into an opportunity to make new kinds of medicines that can precisely stop that process. And in the last 5 years, funded by our foundation, we really cracked the code and have an understanding of 21 new targets or switches or opportunities to make very precise medicines, not like chemotherapy in the 20th century, that could stop the disease in its tracks or turn your own body's immune system into basically a machine that can mop up the rest of the disease and actually eliminate metastatic disease. So this is a historic time to be launching a campaign to defeat the disease, because the genes, in understanding how the genes work and then understanding how to make new medicines for the genes that are driving a specific cancer in a specific prostate cancer patient, you're really talking about creating a new kind of prescription pad that would basically precisely treat every man with the right medicine for the right patient at the right time.
So are we talking about medicines that address the type of cancer patient, or medicines that address the type of prostate cancer, or do you have to mix and match based on both of those factors?
Those are great questions. It's about the cancer that each patient has but there's more than one kind of prostate cancer. And there actually are, right now on my whiteboard here, there are 21, there are really 21 kinds of prostate cancer.
Oh.
But you can read the genes for less than it would cost now to even have a abdominal CT scan. You can read the genes, at least in research centers, and be able to prescribe for patients FDA-approved medicines or research medicines that are absolutely specific for the kind of prostate cancer they have. So it really is about tailoring the treatment of each man with advanced prostate cancer specific to the very kind of prostate cancer they have. There are 21, basically there are 21 possibilities right now. There are 11 forms of breast cancer, for instance, we know at the level of genes. So, and this is the new, basically this is the kind of revolutionary new understanding about cancer in general, but specific to prostate cancer, we feel we're more than ready now to do the research and development and invest in it with this new Many versus Cancer campaign to defeat the disease in every single patient. And it's kind of an extraordinary and historic moment.
From a
kind of a historic,
but absolutely,
not kind of, it is.
Yeah,
it is. It's very exciting.
From a researcher's standpoint, what about the scenario where genes share certain characteristics? Are you going to develop something that is totally different based on characteristics that seem similar but are not? Won't some of these drugs address, say, 3 or 4 different types of these 20 plus cancers? Yes.
Actually, some of the genes that drive prostate cancer drive common other cancers. For instance, there's a gene target that we want to invest research in that is responsible for 100% of colon cancer, ovarian, breast, and prostate cancer in a class of genes called DNA damage repair genes. The concept is it's no longer where the cancer arises. It arises in the ovary or the colon or the brain or the prostate. It's like, if they share the same mutant gene target, can you make a medicine precisely for that? So we actually think in discovering and developing drugs for prostate cancer, we're going to actually be developing new life-extending and medicines for 16 other forms of cancers that share mutant genes in common with prostate cancer. So in a way, prostate cancer leads the way to a whole new kind of pharmacy, precision medicines for cancers, all based on the genes that are driving these cancers.
You mentioned earlier in our conversation, Many Against Cancer, and you also mentioned one of the factors that is hindering advancement is patient awareness.
Well, Many versus Cancer is our new campaign. It's about millions of people coming together to fund scientists. We fund research in 21 countries who will end prostate cancer once and for all. And our goal is to raise $1 billion over the next 5 years to discover and develop these new kinds of precision medicines. But the reason it's many is because many cancer patients are going to benefit from fast forwarding making these kinds of genetic medicines. Like I said, in making these new medicines for these 21 kinds of prostate cancer gene targets, you're talking about breakthrough medicines for 16 other forms of human cancer. Breast and colon, we talked about childhood brain tumors, the form of leukemia, because with now really understanding the genes in the same way you can download an app, we can really talk to patients about genetic medicines. We just need to make them. And the other thing that's incredible is that about Many versus Cancer is we know now that a patient's immune system that would fight off a cold or an infection can be reprogrammed to fight off your cancer if you can throw the right switches with new kinds of medicines. And Many versus Cancer is about supporting the research in prostate cancer that drives making these new kinds of immune system switches for basically any form of cancer. So it's a big undertaking, but the time is now because we've got the scientific understanding of really fundamentally what makes prostate cancer tick. And and also what makes these other cancers tick in terms of making new medicines.
And where can our listeners go online to get involved?
They should go to Mini versus Cancer, minimvscancer.org to learn more and join the fight.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
My pleasure as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neal Howard, with Dr. Jonathan Simons, President and CEO of the Prostate Cancer Foundation. We've been talking about prostate cancer, some of the risk factors involved, some of the advancements in treatment, and also about the Mini versus Cancer initiative. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au and also at hpr.fm. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, listen in, and download at SoundCloud.